Good afternoon. On behalf of everyone at INTACH, it is my pleasure to welcome the guest speaker, S. Vijay Kumar, and members of the audience to today's lecture, The Role of Photo Archives in Restitution of Cultural Property. The global art market's increasing shift towards private sales and the removal of past auction records presents significant challenges for tracking and reclaiming looted cultural heritage. However, historical photo archives combined with modern digital tools like Google 360 Street View have emerged as crucial instruments in the restitution efforts. The presentation will explore how photographic documentation from colonial era surveys to institutional archives has been instrumental in identifying and recovering stolen artifacts. The India Pride Project, IPP, co-founded by Vijay Kumar, has been at the forefront of this movement, leveraging extensive image archives and open source intelligence to trace looted Indian antiquities. IPP has played a pivotal role in several high-profile restitutions. Vijay is a heritage activist who has been doing stellar work to bring gods home. And without much ado, I promise it's going to be a thrilling, to say in the least, presentation and talk by Vijay. So without further ado, Vijay, over to you.
Thank you, esteemed guests, INTACH. Before I go to my presentation, I just want to highlight something that we've all been looking at and missing for the last 10 minutes. In the center image on the bronze, in the base pedestal, there is a small inscription in Tamil. It reads Tirupambalpurathu Sivigai Nayagar. In Tamil, Tirupambalpuram was the temple from which it was looted. Sivigai Nayagar basically means one who comes out in procession. So you're going to see how that proved crucial to get this bronze back from the Ball State Museum in America. Thank you again. It's quite a long talk. I've been strictly told to stick to 45 minutes, which will allow us for a Q&A after that. So let me go for that. Switch to that. So yes, you can look up at our work with the hashtag Bring Our Gods Home. We firmly believe that we are vehicles. The gods want to come home and they choose the time. And why we called it India Pride Project is restoring India's pride one artifact at a time from the insult that is being heaped on our gods. And some of the images that you're going to see are disturbing. They are meant to disturb. So no apologies. The topic today, we are going to look at why we need to document our heritage, why we need to establish a lost register, and how effectively can we use photo archives, and lastly, how the grey-black art market is evolving to us, posing challenges by understanding our modus operandi and coming up with ways to outfit it, and how we as private citizens are working our ways to fight them again. As usual, I start with a dedication to the unknown artists who created these magnificent works of arts, the sculptors, the kings and chieftains. Without donors and patents, art doesn't survive. And then to commoners like you and me who continue to appreciate these beauties. The bronze that you see is of Vishwakarma, not in India, but in Cambodia. So IPP does majorly these 5 aspects. We work on restitution, we build awareness, we act as a deterrent, we influence policy, and we also work in capacity building. So today, I would say we are going to look at the first aspect in more detail, so that hopefully some of you will be inspired to join our team. We don't pay, we don't get donations, we don't get awards. It's purely volunteer driven. So firstly, I want to define what restitution is. Quite often newspaper articles say German Prime Minister gifted to Indian Prime Minister, returned an artifact. You gift something that you own. You return something that has gone missing. The right way to use is restitution. Restitution is returning an object to its rightful owner. I think we need to change ourselves. We have to demand for stolen property to be returned to the original owner. Who are the original owners is another question that we will look at. Primarily, what we are going to look at today is what makes a successful restitution claim. What is the proof of the theft? What can be used? What will stand international jurisprudence? Legal ownership, what does it mean? What are the applicable laws? What hampers restitution efforts? Incomplete paperwork, time-barred claims. I'm not sure how many of you know the statute of limitations. Incomplete and wrongly closed FIRs. Unfortunately, in India, police stations are judged by open FIRs. So if an FIR is open more than 365 days, you catch some pickpocket, put all the cases on him, and they close the case saying idle not found. And forever they get buried in paperwork. We'll be looking at how the time frames of restitutions have changed. India has become more demanding. The pace of restitutions have increased. And lastly, this art market has a fad that this 1970, the UN is some miraculous Lakshman Rekha that washes a stolen object, and we will prove that it's wrong. So I'm starting off with a success story. This bronze group, of course, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, and Hanuman, was photographed in situ in the temple by the French Institute in Pondicherry in the 1950s. In 1978, this temple was looted. Thieves scaled a 24-feet wall and robbed 5 murtis. 4 they could transport. The 5th one was too heavy. The 5th one was a very special Hanuman. Over the last 40 years, the temple lost its accreditation to Rama. It became a Hanuman temple. So people forgot that it was a Rama temple at all. And when this bronze surfaced in the UK market, one of our volunteers was walking on the street, went inside a dealer's. It was not an offer. It was inside his cubicle, and our friend managed to snap it on his mobile phone. And it was a single Rama. 2 years later, we were still searching for it because we were looking at theft reports, not available. Rama temples, forgotten in my memory. And then another visit to the site of the dealer showed another bronze that looked very similar but was not the same. So that means we were not looking for just Rama, we were looking for an entire group that was lost. And this was what he had. And you can actually see there's a difference. When you see Rama and Lakshmana idols in isolation, it's very difficult. Both of them have the same iconography. But together, Rama is always shown taller, larger, and the top of the crown, there is a difference. And this is what led us to believe, and we went searching for it. Stylistically, this is not a Chola bronze. It is a Vijayanagara bronze, even though it rivals, it's one of the best Vijayanagara bronzes. And stylistically, it belonged to the Union Territory of Pondicherry, Karaikal. And we've managed to find the match inside the French Institute Pondicherry after we knew the belt. And on August 15th of 2018, this happened. Well, the dealer was notified that it was a theft case. We managed to open up the old case papers. 1978 FIR was traced. A quiet handover happened in the Indian High Commission in London. And a year later, the bronzes went back to being the gods that they were originally been. This here is them photographed in the temple after a span of 43 years. 12,000 people assembled in the village when they came back home. And in Tamil, we call bronzes Tirumeni. Tirumeni literally translates to body of God. The priests would wake them up in the morning, bathe them, ceremoniously feed them, clothe them, adorn them, and in the night they'll be sung to and taken to their sleeping quarters. So literally the priests would deal with them as living gods. And you will see one such priest in a later stage. Unfortunately, despite 5 years and COVID, the Hanuman is still stuck in a museum in Southeast Asia. We are hoping that the priest under whose watch it was stolen in 1978 is now 85 years old. And every time I go there, he says, "What happened to my Hanuman? When is he coming home?" So hopefully he will come back home as well. Why is it important that we safeguard these bronze murtis? No, I'm speaking in Delhi. There was an invasion into South India in the early 14th century. Iconoclasts broke stone statues and melted metal icons for metal. Our ancestors went to great extents to safeguard these murtis by burying them. And imagine there is an invading horde killing here and there, and still the priests are going, digging pits, lining them with charcoal, kusha grass, going through the rituals, and then with the hope that they will come back to worship. And the threat lasted for 3 to 6 months, depending on which historian you believe. But why is it that they were never recovered? They went to such great extent to bury the bronzes. Only 2 causes. 1, they were driven away, which I find it very difficult to believe. 2, they died not giving up their secrets. In a hope that one day this will happen. Here you see a Nataraja that is being excavated from a buried hoard, and within minutes you can actually see him becoming God. And for 600 years he's been buried on the ground, and the people have already started worshipping him. And there lies the noble intent of that priest who went to such great extent to bury them for safety. Compare that. These are the biggest number of idols that are smuggled out, ex-buried hoards. The locals are selling them for metal value, 4,000, 5,000 rupees, to waste paper shops. They change hands 10, 20 times before they head to the US market, where auctions like these, private showings are happening. This is an actual sale happening for our gods. And then once they buy them, what happens? Lining an indoor pool. People think, this is just one-off. This is a Hollywood celebrity's private house. So our gods are being reduced to showpiece curios and garden furniture. I'm not joking. They're literally declaring it in customs as garden furniture. One such buyer, dealer, collector, British Thai, now deceased, notorious scholar turned smuggler. I'm sure you've not heard his name. This is his apartment in Bangkok. I'm showing this apartment for a reason. This is his birthday party in 2013 with his daughter. He passed, the US indicted him 4 years ago, but he passed before that. The daughter is now returning 200 idols and $4 million to Cambodia. And something special, which I'm going to show you. And this is the birthday party. Party is happening. So just keep this. And all this is taken by our volunteers from Facebook feeds, monitoring trafficking networks. Just keep this in your memory. So 2.5 years ago, there was a similar talk that I did in a UNESCO conference, and during the tea break, an ASA officer from West Bengal walked up to me and said, "Sir, my PhD mentor's PhD thesis was on a temple in Bankura, West Bengal. 4 idols were stolen from that temple. Can you do something?" I said, "Of course." And that's the reason why we do all this. Reached out, got his copy of his PhD thesis that you see on screen. There, on right at the corner, was a Kubera. And I'll show you how we managed to find that Kubera. This is actually, I want to record videos, but Google does not allow permission to show it. So I've just got screenshots of Google Street View of a dealer. Even now you can go and see this. This is a shop in Google View, and there you can see when the Kubera was on display. So we managed to track his ads, his catalogs. We dug deeper. We managed to find that it was a published antiquity. ASI's archive had the image. I've blanked out the rest because we've still not found the rest. So I'm showing you what we have found. And we did the matches. Because of this evidence, and because somebody told us that it was missing, we managed to track the police complaint, and this idol was recovered early last year. Another example of how archives, which is the topic of this discussion, I take up IGNCA. This was a temple which was looted pretty recently. It's lost all its Koshta Murtis, but I'm going to focus only on one because we're still waiting for the others to turn up in the art market. The art market works on a concept called fencing, which literally means that they have deep pockets. They put it in storage for a couple of decades, still public memory is lost. In fact, longer in another case, which I'm going to show you. And then they bring it out. So this Kartikeya was documented by, so this is the documentation that they did, including latitude, longitude, make, everything was done. So we knew that it was on the site till the day this documentation was done. It surfaced in the US auction site. We notified the police, they went and checked through our friends in Indian law enforcement, got the FIR, faithfully registered, but buried in dumps. We also managed to track down who was the supplier, thanks to the US law enforcement. I'm sure you would have seen a couple of my previous talks where I show you how these robbers are showing out like prospective grooms being sent bride photos. They share robber photos. So the red one is when he was still in the temple, the black background is when he was offered for sale, and he was on sale in this auction site. I'll show you how we did this matches in a later version, and this was also recovered. Why I'm emphasizing the need for timely reporting? We managed to track this. I was looking for another Hanuman when I found this Hanuman on the French Institute Pondicherry's website. Fortunately, it was bought by an Australian diplomat on a Christie's sale, and it had not yet left the US. We worked with the Homeland Security guys to appeal to the buyer, and he graciously consented. But when I went and dug out, because I knew which temple it was looted from, it was in the IFE archive. So you actually see how the IFE archive works. It has the date of the temple, the name of the temple, the date, who documented it, the size, dimensions, everything. With this evidence, computers don't work, because how do you match this photo to I show you this photo. So this was the auction record. So it takes a lot of eye work and old-fashioned blood, sweat, and toil. You need to see a couple of thousand bronzes before you make a match. But we did make the match. What happened was this was stolen in 2013. FIR was lodged. The FIR was closed within 8 months, saying idols not found. and this auction happened in 2016. If India had a proper system of reporting and collecting and cataloging such, we could have stopped it at the auction itself. But yes, our work continues. I'm showing you a glimpse of how we match. So every bronze is made by the lost wax method, individually handmade. The cast cannot be reused. It has to be broken to reveal the bronze. All of you are experts on it. So each of them have minute imperfections. And over 1,000 years of use, certain breakages. We use that to match. Now comes the problem. In the 1960s and 70s, robbers became creative. They made exact eye copy replicas, switched it with the originals. So I show you this case. This was a Thirumangai Alvar that was stolen from a temple in Kumbakonam. We found it in Ashmolean, Oxford. We wrote to the custodian and they said, no, the bronze is with me. So I said, can you go and look at it? And this was the condition. So you look at the patination of the bronze and then you see that it is not a single pour. So there was no audit. People were just happy with a number count. So we managed to match it with the original French University photos, and it's been 5 years, getting something back from the British stuff. So the Ashmolean has currently given it to a committee that is evaluating, and before that they sent an expert to come visit the temple and check if the temple was still there. Is it still actually there? So they did police work. And then COVID happened, and then the person who came changed. So they sent another person after COVID to do the same work. We are still waiting for the bronze to come back. But in the same temple, there are 7 more fakes. And we've identified them to various museums and auction houses in the US. So this poses different set of problems. Again, there are some objects that are not photographed like bronzes. Take this case, for example, it's a ceiling Damshala. Now, this is an ASI photograph. Currently, the idol has been, after 27 years of fighting with Denver Museum, after giving them the proof, so even that photograph he managed to extract and show every scratch and match, it's been restituted. So we were talking about ownership. India has still not signed the unit right, 1995. We only signed the 1970 convention. Why is it important? So this Yakshi, when restituted, will be the most expensive restituted Indian object. She was in the market for $15 million. She was a private deity from Bharhut, only one that went missing. Rest of all were catalogued and sent to various museums. This was the only Yakshi left, and it was with a farmer in Satna who had it as his Kula Devata. He registered it as an antiquity. This is the registration certificate. Thieves stole it in 2002. He registered an FIR. The robbers hacked it into 3 parts to ship because she's so tall. You can see the break. Sent it to a restorer. I know I've been to your restoration office and I had not too many great words on restorers, because restoration ethics means that you should not materially alter an object. Here you see the restorer stitching it back. Obvious signs of theft, and he's been charged officially in the US. And this has since been, she's on the way back. So we're going to talk a few more cases. We're going to show, now I'm going different state-wise because many people think since I'm from Tamil Nadu, we have more success in Tamil Nadu. Idol theft is something unique to Tamil Nadu. No, every state has its. Tamil Nadu just that. It's better documented, and Chola bronze is a little more unique. And I would say I'm a little more partial on Chola bronzes. But we did this with the Lokahari Yoginis. So you have the goat-headed Yoginis. I know a lot of you would have gone and seen these. So one was issued in 2013 from France. This was part of a notorious smuggler in Rajasthan, Vaman Gia, who was accused and charged and arrested in 2002 and let out for want of evidence in 2013 because not a single object of his came back to India. He's a free man now. coincidentally, 2 months after this judgment, this idol was restituted to India. And then about 6 years ago, I got a call from a friend who runs an art recovery company, and he does pro bono work for us. Hey Vijay, I see a grotesque looking statue in a garden party I'm attending. It can only be yours. And this was the condition of the idol. So managed to give the proof. She was put up for auction by the named auction houses, Sotheby's, Bonhams, multiple times. The present owner was a good faith purchaser, and she relinquished it and gave it to India. So again, August 15th next year, colorful ceremony, we got her back. And not only that, we worked. 2 years ago, we managed to find 2 more of our companions, all because of a book that was published with all these documented sculptures. So documented, it might take, this the first, I think they were auctioned in 1980. So after 50 years, we managed to find them still. So I'm going to show you something much earlier than that, how we solved a 1961 theft. So this was a very interesting case. I was actually looking for another artifact that was on a YouTube video with a dealer. There he is talking about it in his TEFAF video. But we couldn't get there in time. Statute of limitations came in and he forgot what he did with the statue. But a friend of mine said, TEFAF, I'm going there next week. Do you want me to take some photographs? So I sent her a list of prospective dealers. Meantime, my good friend, Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, who's with the EAC, said, hey Vijay, I'm meeting somebody retired from ASI and he's got a peculiar problem only you can solve. I said, sure. He had a, in I think most of your government officers, if something bad happens, you get a cut and that salary, whatever, goes till the end of your service. So he lost one increment, I think, and he had a case of a theft in Nalanda Museum. 12 bronzes were stolen in 1961, 14 were stolen in 1961, and 2 more were stolen in 1962 under his watch. And India has been trying to get this for a long time. We knew one was in the LACMA, there was no proof. But lucky, he had photographs of these objects and he sent me this. So we managed to put it into our data bank, which is basically my bedroom wall, for a week before my wife pulls them down. And kept it in our fine database. We matched it to the LACMA with the proof. LACMA returned it 2 years ago. He's come back. So this is an exchange that is happening. So we have this WhatsApp group of like-minded people working with Italians, Cambodians, Nepalese, Egyptians, so we share. So when they see an Indian artifact, they'll send to me. So I'm asking my good friend Linda, who runs an art crime institute in Italy. So she's there, and so she's saying, do you need anything? So I've sent her a list of dealers who are suspect, and she's sending me photographs, and you can actually see the exchange going on. So she's visiting and sending me photos. And apologies to my wife. It's at 3:48 a.m. she's sending me this photograph, and at 5:05 a.m. I'm replying, I think I have a match. And we had a match, and the robbers had become creative. What they did was they had actually broken the leaf of the tree behind Bodhi tree and soldered it on the other side. So all this was presented as evidence. And we managed, ASI acted swiftly. A letter was sent, ICOM experts came in, and on August 15th of 2017, this happened. So interestingly, I'm just not going to play the full one.
Event of restitution of India's national cultural heritage, a 12th century AD bronze image of Bhagwan Buddha. This is an incredible story of a 900-year-old cultural heritage that was stolen 57 years ago and is being returned back to India today. This image was about the 14 bronze statues stolen from the Archaeological Survey of India Museum at Nalanda in August 1961. Earlier this year, the High Commission and the Met Police were alerted by Mr. Vijay Kumar of India Pride Project about...
Okay, enough of publicity. I want you to focus not on this, but the object behind him. I was watching this event live on screen, and the phone that you're hearing ring is my call, because the Natesa at the back wall was a stolen artifact. by Vamangia, and that was quietly handed over to the High Commission in 2005. They didn't know what to do with it. They kept it inside the special hall only for ceremonies. So I've been there many times. I was never invited to the hall, and the thieves had replaced it with a fake. And this happened, and we managed to identify it in 2019. This Natesa was finally shipped back to India. So this is why I say the gods pick the time, choose the time to reveal themselves. So a lot of such coincidences happened. One such coincidence was this amazing Somaskanda that is currently still in a museum in Singapore. So this was photographed in 1914, published in a book, which we had access to, and it had nothing. It just had this photograph. It said Sivan Kodal Somaskanda. Sivan Kodal means what? Nobody knew. So I go on social media, and I'm asking Sivan Kodal, somewhere near this place. My friend's driver is following me on Facebook. Don't ask me why. And he tells his boss, sir, near my village, there is a village called Sivan Kodal. So we head there. We go and ask the locals, is there an old temple here? They show a new temple or something. Oh, near the lake, there is an old temple. We go there, full of thorn bushes, snakes, literally, I'm not joking. Rajendra Chola era temple, literally lying in ruins, with a Nelavara. Nelavara is an underground vault. And that temple was not on any list. So now it has become part of state archaeology. This is the temple that you see now. Unfortunately, that day we were too scared to take videos of the snakes. So the locals are currently worshipping this poster. This was the place from where it was stolen. So we are still battling. This was in 2013 we made the match. So now photographic evidence is key. We'll always have it. So if we can build something robust. I give you another example. This was a bronze that was stolen from a temple. Beautiful Samandar, one of the 63 Shaivite saints. This was photographed, and it was part of this book the French Institute launched to commemorate other successes. And in that, we found this bronze, and it was matched to a bronze in the National Gallery of Australia. Left India in the 1967. When our contact in the temple, his father was alive. His deathbed confession, literally you could say that, was that local bigwigs stole it. I couldn't talk. I'm going to die. It was the same statue. Based on that, we acted. Sadly, he passed away in 2016. But in 2018, that's his son. And I want to play you this. This is in the Kumbakonam High Court, where the legal process is when a restituted idol comes back. It goes to Delhi, from Delhi to the respective where the case is filed. The judge hands it over to the temple as a custodian. So the priest's son, he is 75 years old now, he is taking the bronze from my hands. So basically he says, I have gone with my father and washed this bronze so many times, and that brings memory of my father. So yeah, this is payday for us, and this is why we do our work. So I'm going to show you a few more such cases and how the robbers are trying to get one step ahead. So the bronze that you see is one of the most expensive restituted Nataraja Murtis from National Gallery of Australia, taken from the Sri Purandan temple. It was sold for $5.1 million in 2006. But interestingly, this was how the bronze was in the temple. You can see the coloration change from the bronze copper to the greenish patina. So apparently collectors like a greenish patina for two things. Openly they say outwardly aesthetics, but inwardly they feel that if it has a patina, it is from buried hoard, no photographs exist, so they are safe. So they prefer to buy objects that are ex-ground. So they had a restorer in London. I can name him now. I couldn't name him before because he's already been charged by the US and extradited. Neil Perry Smith chemically coated this bronze to give it this greenish patina. The same thing with this Uma. So this is how happened. So the empty place, the bronze stolen, rubber photos, and the curator literally said there are hundreds of bronzes to Natarajas, you don't know one for the other. We matched 36 points and put it on YouTube. The YouTube still exists video. And finally, we launched a newspaper campaign, and the Australian Prime Minister brought it and handed it over to the Indian Prime Minister. And the bronze went back to the temple to work. And more importantly, this is how the temple was renovated to receive the bronze by the locals. So it was in a ruined state before. The same thing happened with the Uma. So we went some creative, we said Nataraja back from Australia, wife stuck in Singapore. So we managed to do that, and she was also back. So why is it important to take good quality photos when you archive? This is an example. One of our techie friends was visiting Toledo. I didn't know that there was a state or a place in US called Toledo. They had a museum, and they had a Chola bronze in the museum, and he sent us a photograph of this beautiful Ganesha. Now what happened was, whoever developed this, so we already knew the Nataraja was stolen, the Uma was stolen, but when they copied the transparency, they didn't know which side, right from left. So you see they transposed the Ganesha initially in the lookout notice, and we couldn't find it. Then we transposed it and we got it. And interestingly, the Ganesha had a small blemish, a casting defect in its trunk. You can actually see those two blemishes. And they were there in the original archive itself, and we managed to use that to get back. And since we are all looking at good things today, I want to show you another Nataraja that came back to Kalidakuruchi from the Art Gallery of South Australia. And I want to show you how so the first time he is coming back to the village, to the temple. So a lot of fanfare. So looking at this, there was a conference that was organized by a Nagamake conference, and a Vaishnavite, a staunch Vaishnavite, in South India there's a big divide between Shaivites and Vaishnavites. A Vaishnavite volunteer from our side, he was approached by a Shaivite temple's priest and said, a Nataraja was stolen from a temple in 1973. In 1974, they gave us different idol and closed the case. So we managed to send us the photograph. We managed to trace the photography shop that had photographed the idol. They had the photograph, they had photographed it in 1968. The temple custodian had the temple register when he said, I opened the temple on April 1st, 1973, the locks are broken, and all that we gave as evidence to the US. And so this was the photo shop that gave us the photograph. With this, so I've blacked out the Uma because she's still missing. It was in Asia Society. We managed to find the match. So just showing you how we work. So this is how all the breaks are. So this is the evidence. So depending on the quality of the photograph, we can really prove every aspect of a bronze. And 2 years ago this happened. You can see the Prime Minister. The bronze has gone back. So that is the priest who gave us the tip. And the bronze has gone back to worship. So we are working on different cases that we have worked on across India. But they get creative. So this Nagapatnam Buddha apparently was on sale by the villain of my book, Subhash Kapoor. He offered it to the Asian Civilization Museum in Singapore on loan for their show Nalanda Way, which was opened by then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. So the idol, when it came back to New York after the loan, price went up by $2 million with a tag that exhibited in the Nalanda Way opened by the Prime Minister. But it was nothing to do with Nalanda, Nagapatnam. It was near Kanchipuram. Again, thanks to social media, we managed to find it in a small book by a local teacher. and we managed to secure it. The bronze is currently under worship. And finally, I'm going to show you how we did the ball state. So this was how the bronze was with the restorer, the same bronze that was on the poster. So it was cleaned up. When they cleaned up and put it up on the museum website, it had the words in Tamil. So we managed to track it and we managed to get it back. So that's the wording, Thirupambal Purathu Sivige Nayagar. And based on this evidence, a photo for me, this was given again. The priest wanted to take it from my hand, managed to give it back. So we work a lot of such cases quite often, but the restorers are getting creative. The robbers are getting creative, sometimes stupid. They cut the handles in Nataraja using a saw to melt it to check if it had gold. So bronzes don't have any gold or silver. But in this condition, the jeweler who melted it was killed, so there was a murder case. This Nataraja with a hand-cut state left India without a passport, went to Nepal, went to Hong Kong, went to Britain, got a new hand, appeared on Kapoor's catalog and was on sale for $3 million. A month before Kapoor was arrested in September 2011, it made a quiet return to Chennai. And it was quietly handed over by one of Kapoor's suppliers, Deenadayalan, to the police. So the Nataraja lost his hand, went to London, got a new hand, went to New York, and then came back home. He's come back to worship. So this is how the restorers are currently damaging artifacts willfully to smuggle them and putting them back for sale in the US. Not only that, this is an ex-buried hoard, and look at what they've done to it. So they've cleaned up. So in this condition, it's very impossible practically for us to make a match. So happy to announce today that we are in beta testing of our app, which is called Ekalavya. It's an AI platform that seeks, finds and matches. You see the background, there is a Kaliya Mardana Krishna. This is what our software does with it. So this was the robber offering photo as it was excavated. These are how the software matches. I'm not giving too much details because obviously a lot of good people are watching and bad people as well. So it does a lot of tests and simulations to come up with matches. And this bronze came back last year. Thank you. Open for questions. So please keep your questions to this subject, no political questions, please.
Yes, I wanted to know what is the most popular route for transport of stolen idols from India, and also another aspect of it is that are there similar thieves within India who are stealing from other places in India or even from adjoining countries and bringing them here?
Thank you. It's nice that you use the word transport instead of smuggle. So I would use the right word. They're smuggled out of India. India officially banned export of anything over 100 years from 1972. The Antiquities Act of 1977 requires that if you have anything over 100 years in your house, you have to register it, mandatory. Yes, there are multiple routes. There are containers that were shipped officially, declared as garden furniture from Bombay. Airports, there are shipments go as LCL, declared as newly made brassware. So there are gateway ports. Officially, we have instances where they say we have favorable officials, your shipment will pass next week. So yes, there is culpability, there is complicit. Plus, of course, the West Bengal, Bangladesh border, the Nepal border, the Nepal route, the Hong Kong route, the London route. There are multiple routes. And most often what happens is they underdeclare the invoices. They go to an intermediate location like Hong Kong where the buyers come, check whether it's authentic, and then the balance money is transferred via Hawala routes. Yeah, it is a well-oiled system. And there are a lot many thieves and buyers who are working with thieves in India to buy Nandis, for example. There was a well-known art expert in Chennai who's currently out. He was arrested, charged. I think his house they raided. They got about 120 granite Nandis. So he had a fetish for Nandis because his wife's name was that. Yeah. Any other question, please?
Thank you. Absolutely fantastic work that you're doing. Thank you so much. So you mentioned at the beginning that 1970 might not be a Lakshman Rekha. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, I showed you how we did the 1961 case of the Buddha. Common law applies. A thief does not pass good title. So as long as we can go and register a theft, the crime exists. Title, possession, and ownership, we have to prove that. 1970 is only an enabler. It says that if it is after 1970, we can officially ask, like we give an LR. We don't have to go to legal records. You don't have to go to a court. You only ask the country that has it now to give it back, and they have 30 days to refute your claim. So basically, you show that it was stolen after 1970. If the proof is enough, in 30 days, the artifact is forfeit to India. If both of them are signatories to the 1970 convention. So the art market literally works in generating paperwork with provenance 1967 to 1969, 60, 71. So it's like India had ships only shipping artifacts just before 1968. So it's all fake provenance. So at least be creative. Put a 1950 date. Why do you have to put a 1968 date if you want to fake a provenance? But to answer your question, we consult, for example, for Nepal, Cambodia, Italy. All of them have become more aggressive. They've taken auction houses to court. They've taken dealers to court. And what they are trying to do is to push the burden of proof on the seller, not on the source nation. Show us that you have legitimate proof that this idol or artifact was legally exported out of India. Otherwise, it's ours. Give it back. I think that's what is required. But India is still working on soft diplomacy. We have not sued anyone. After 1972, we sued two. We had two cases, one in London, one in with one of the world's richest man in the history of the world, Norton Simon in America. We had two cases in 1972, 1985. After that, we have never sued anyone. If you count the Amin pillars in the UK, 1985. So 3 cases that come to my mind of suing outside of the country, but apart from that, we have not done much. We can sue, we will sue, and we will go after old cases. Colonial loot is a different story, because then we have to go with India's own patrimony laws. If you go to 1878, we have the Buried Treasure Trove Act, which literally means that anything found below the earth, more than 10 rupees, belongs to the crown. The crown replaced by India now. But yes, I think we appeal to the UN 1970 convention in spirit, not in letter. So if you're found with a stolen idol, if you're found with something that has been legally removed, I'll give you an example of, let's not take up the British always. Let's look at a Danish collector, for example. He was digging a fort, which he had a license from a local king to dig and expand his fort in Trankebar, Tanishko. So he finds a trash of the 31 buried hoard. Today, if you go to Trankebar, in the castle, you will see there is a Chola temple about 500 meters from there. The locals cry, pray to him to give it back, and he says, you know, these idols have lost power because they've been buried. There is no temple nearby that can take care of it. I will take it. And he takes it back with him. Peter Anker is the collector's name. He sells it to the Prince of Denmark, then becomes the King of Denmark. They are now in the Royal Danish Museum with a label which says he bought it from the locals. The original Danish records say that he gave them a bag of rice and some betel nuts.
Can I just quick follow up on that?
Okay, go on.
I am British. You might be able to tell from my accent, so I feel responsibility.
You're going to lose more.
I want responsibility to ask about this. So, of all of the murtis that were taken out of India, what proportion do you think were taken before 1947? And what proportion would be in Britain compared to the rest of the world? You're
talking about, I would split the loot into 1947, 47 to 1970, 1970 to 2012, 2012 to now. I'll talk about recoveries first. 1970 to 2000, India got back 19 antiquities. 2000 to 2012, 0. 2012 to now, we have crossed 2,100. 638 have physically come back. Rest are already promised and with various high commissions waiting for ASI's budget to transport and insure. So, if you ask me what is the British Museum, I would say it's not just in British Museum, the French. There's a lot of theft also that happened. It's not just colonial loot. One example that comes to my mind is bronze that was taken from Coimbatore. It was taken, it was a buried hoard, came up, the temple bid for it, they were outbid by Lord Curzon. So Lord Curzon bequeathed it to the V&A. Currently the bronze sits in the V&A and the temple is empty here. And he bequeathed it 2 years after he returned. So he had no interest in it, he just acquired it. At that time, the temple apparently collected 1,000 rupees, which is in 1896. They bid 1,000 rupees for the bronze, and they were outbid by the white man. Sorry, Lord Curzon. I'll take one. Yeah, just let's start from the back.
Hello, Vijay. First, I want to thank you for the service that you've been doing. I have been absolutely in admiration for the work you do, and you know that. 2 questions. First is, now that repatriation has really taken momentum, there are 2 ways that the returned sculptures are be treated. I'd love to know your opinion as to what is your recommendation for how they should be. There is a museum of repatriated and confiscated, and that's great that it's in public view and we can hear the stories. But a lot of them still go behind the new Parliament building, where the public doesn't have access to for example, one of the goat-headed yoginis has gone to the new Parliament building, and we don't have access to looking at her. And then some go to the site. So what would your recommendations be? The second question, I'll just club them both together. The ASI has recently gone through a refurbishment of its website. But if you go to the Central Heritage Database, and you are well aware that I myself have been working on refurbishing the Central Heritage Database for over 9 years with the ASI, but have not been able to gain that access towards it. What is the reason that archive, even though there's village-to-village survey, there's everything circles, that archive has not been able to uplift
Two
itself?
things. I'll take the first step. One, murtis belong to temples. They should be going back to the temples, or at least to the state. That is what we've been saying, because it asks uncomfortable questions, because for too long, even in Parliament, we've been told that only 3 are missing, 4 are missing. Now thousands are coming back. So we strongly believe that they should at least go back to the state. We exhibited in the state. On the yoginis, we have had multiple discussions to bring them back to Lokahari, but it is a site where the locals don't want it, because they say every time a theft happens, the police come and beat us. So they says, we don't want this, please take it and go. So it is a tough one, but we hope that they will go back to the site. On your other question, I think it should not be under the ASI's domain. We've always championed for a centralized art force, akin to what Italy has got. Indian Italy actually campaigned the UN in 1970 to come up with this convention. Italy set up a central art squad with the best of their police force called the Carbonary Art Squad. So far, they have recovered 378,000 objects and still going. They have the best websites, web crawlers and all that, where with the lawyers. Whereas in India, we have only one force in Tamil Nadu, which is, I need to look at my dictionary for the spelling of idol for that. It's more like a punishment posting. In Kerala, they have something called a Temple Protection Force, which I think has solved 1 case in the last 26 years. And in Karnataka, last 5 years, they've announced an idol wing every year. So I think we should, and you all should raise your voice that this is a serious problem that requires a specified agency with special powers. We can't ask Salman Khan to do it as raw. We have to find somebody else. Yes.
You're doing really very pioneering work, I must say, and a great deal for the country also. But you know, there are 2 inadequacies. One is that the punishments under the Indian law are very weak. We don't hear of any major conviction having taken place under the Indian law for stolen antiques, number 1. Secondly, we don't seem to have any law about restitution.
Sure. Thank you for that question, sir. In fact, I didn't want to put it up here, but I would always take that lament. India is the only country that has punished anybody. No heritage crime expert has spent a day in crime in the US or anywhere else. Italy has it. Egypt has it, China has it, But India, Subhash Kapoor, for example, he was extradited after a year. He's been behind bars still. But to answer your question, we don't have a specific section in IPC for heritage crime. Section 380 deals with housebreaking theft, carrying a minimum penalty of 3 months, maximum penalty of 7 years, 3,000 rupee fine. In my home state of Tamil Nadu, in good intentions, they said we will, in 1992, bring an amendment because the temple thieves are going away with 3 months, with friendly judges. I don't want to get in trouble saying that, with the judiciary, whatever. So they passed an amendment to IPC section in Tamil Nadu, state amendment, which should have said minimum 3 years, but when they drafted it, they left out the word minimum. So in Tamil Nadu, you rob a house, you get 7 years. You rob a temple, you get 3 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for your excellent talk, and I must congratulate you for the public service you are doing. Now I have 2 points to make. One is that I live near the Horse Khas Monument. I was walking, I went inside, I found that the grave had been desecrated. I brought it to attention. They have repaired the grave, they have taken serious cognizance of this, but now I see that they have stopped selling at the monument tickets. The guard is there, but you can't buy a ticket. You have to go online. Now, a lot of us don't want to do that or can't do that, right? So, if people who care for his culture and history, if we can't watch and point out what's happening to our artifacts and our monuments, I don't know how we are going to have a future. So, please, I request you to take this issue up, that we should be able to buy tickets and go inside and take our pictures and bring it.
Sure.
Now, I haven't finished, please. Yeah. The second point I want to make is, I know your talk is an excellent talk on antiquities, but perhaps one of our most important documents of our heritage are what happened during our freedom struggle. Okay, all those documents, when partition happened, the British scattered them. They're not just in British Museum, and that contains, because they were documenting it copiously. So we know who were our freedom fighters. We also know who are our informers, right? And now in this era, we can even easily get those documents scanned and brought back to India. They are really an important resource. So I'd request you to respond to both and to take up both. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I'm currently tracking thousands of idols. My murtis are precious to me. In this life, I think I will not step beyond this role because I have a day job, unfortunately. I have limited time in my night job, as my son says, to go after this. You are in Delhi, you find a kindled soul who can do it, or you do it yourself. Unfortunately, my expertise, I'm not able to use it to the best because I don't have time, honestly. Thank you for yours. I feel for you. I appreciate it, but my hands are full. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We could have gone on and on, but thank you so much. I really have no words to express what I felt when I was watching you present this, because I'm sure it takes not only perseverance, but a lot of personal courage to track these and fight the system both from inside and externally. So you're an exceptionally brave man, very committed man, and what we say that we were set up to conserve heritage. We are a heritage conservation organization, and what you are doing is absolutely right at the top. So personally, from everybody in INTACH, we are grateful. We are not just thankful to you, we are grateful for what you have chosen to do. And we wish you more power and absolute success in whichever idol you track and go after. And may you bring all our gods home. Thank you, Vijay. He came all the way from Mumbai for this presentation. And we have a cup of tea waiting outside for you. Please join us. Wait, before we let you go, we have a very small token of appreciation for Vijay. And may I request our Vice Chairman, Professor Sukhdev Singh ji to please come up and hand it to him. The two issues of Virasat also. We also have two issues of our newsletter, Virasat, which is a quarterly newsletter carrying the work that INTACH does across the country. I hope you enjoy reading this. And now we can proceed for tea outside.